The movie opens deep in the jungles of Brazil, where we're introduced to Anna, a woman determined to finish a dangerous mission. Her partner warns her to stop, telling her it's far too risky to go out there. But Anna ignores the warning. She gets on her bike and heads out anyway, focused on completing her task. As she rides through the jungle, two men secretly watch her from a distance. They decide the fastest way to catch her is by taking the river. However, before they can reach her, disaster strikes. One of the men is suddenly snatched by a massive anaconda that leaps straight out of the water. The scene then shifts to California. Here we meet Doug, a film director enthusiastically pitching the idea for a movie. He explains that the story revolves around a couple who battle a terrifying monster. And in the end, the woman wins by brutally killing the creature. But the people sitting across from him are clearly unimpressed. That's when we learn the truth. Doug isn't directing a big movie at all. He's actually a wedding photographer, and the couple only wants a cute, romantic video of their wedding. Doug, who has always dreamed of making action-packed creature films, is left feeling like his ambitions have completely faded. Next, we're introduced to Ronald, a struggling actor trying to survive in Hollywood. Even when he's given a tiny role as a doctor, he can't get it right, no matter how many takes he does. Frustrated, the crew eventually fires him. As Ronald leaves the studio, he notices a poster for the movie Anaconda, which was originally set to release in 1997. The story then jumps forward 2 days. We arrive at Doug's house, where his friends have thrown him a surprise birthday party. All of his childhood friends are there, and among the guests, we also spot Ronald. That's when it's revealed that Ronald is actually one of Doug's childhood friends as well. A childhood friend. Back in the day, the four of them were inseparable. But as life went on, things changed. Out of the group, Doug and Ronald were still struggling to find their footing, while the other two, Kenny and Clary, had both become successful in their own lives. Even so, being together again made it feel like nothing had changed, as if they were still the same close friends from years ago. Ronald had planned something special for Doug's birthday. He wanted everyone to watch a movie that Doug had directed back in high school, a film the four of them had made together. In that old movie, Ronald played the hero, facing off against a dangerous creature. The twist was that the creature was actually Kenny in costume. As the monster was about to attack the three friends, Ronald's character boldly declares, "No one can harm my friends." He grabs a gun, shoots the creature, and saves everyone, giving the movie a happy ending. After watching it, everyone was thrilled, and Ronald was clearly fired up. He wanted them to relive that experience and make something similar again. That's when he revealed a huge surprise for Doug. He had managed to buy the copyrights to a novel from the Anaconda novel series. Several Anaconda novels had already been turned into movies, and all four of them were longtime fans of the franchise. Ronald now had a new dream. He wanted the four friends to reunite and make their own low-budget Anaconda movie. The idea excited everyone, and they all loved it. However, there was one major problem. Even after securing the rights, Ronald didn't have any money to actually make the film. His solution was simple but risky. He suggested that they take out a loan together and use that money to make the movie. Doug, who was responsible for earning money and supporting his family, was worried that taking out a loan could put them in serious financial trouble. Because of that fear, he backed out of the plan. Ronald didn't argue or push him, he simply stayed quiet. Later, when Doug returned home, he found his son watching the movie Doug had made years ago. His son looked at him and asked, "Dad, you're such a great director. Why don't you make a new movie?" Those words hit hard. Doug's wife also encouraged him to follow his passion, and he ended up telling her about Ronald's idea. After spending another day or two stuck in his dull routine at work, Doug finally made up his mind. He decided to team up with Ronald and bring the idea to life. With Ronald's approval, he officially began preparing for the movie. They applied for loans from the banks and planned a trip to the Brazilian jungles, where they intended to shoot the entire film. Of course, to make an Anaconda movie, they needed a snake, something that looked like an anaconda, or possibly even a real one. Kenny steps in and uses his connections, calling up a snake breeder. The man arrives with a massive, terrifying snake that almost gives Ronald a heart attack, especially since Ronald is supposed to fight it like a hero in the movie. Completely shaken, Ronald listens as the snake handler reassures him. He explains that the snake isn't poisonous because it's not an actual anaconda at all. The real anacondas live deep in the jungle. Reluctantly, Ronald agrees to film with this snake. The scene then cuts back to Anna. It's the same woman we saw at the beginning of the movie. She's still on the run, hiding from the men who are chasing her. This time, she slips into a bar, only to realize that one of the men has followed her there once again. Inside the bar, Anaconda quickly steals the keys to a yacht and makes her escape. That yacht, however, wasn't random. It had already been arranged by Ronald and his group so they could travel deep into the Brazilian jungle to shoot their film. Anna approaches them and lies, confidently claiming, "I'm your driver." Believing her, the group sets off with her, unknowingly helping Anna escape from the man who's been chasing her. They also load the snake onto the yacht. But a serious mistake happens along the way. The box holding the snake breaks while it's being stored. Eventually, they reach the location where the movie is supposed to be filmed. Once shooting begins, several scenes are filmed with Ronald and Clary, and despite everything, they actually have a lot of fun making the movie as night falls. Everyone settles down to sleep. Ronald is fast asleep when he suddenly hears something moving nearby, a slow, unsettling crawling sound. He turns toward his bedside and comes face to face with what looks like a massive anaconda. He lets out a loud scream, waking everyone up. When the others rush in, it's revealed that it isn't a real anaconda at all. It's the same snake that escaped from its cage earlier. The snake's owner is confronted, and the group starts teasing and scolding him. He apologizes to Ronald and the others, admitting that the incident was his fault. He says he should have checked the snake's cage again and promises them the snake will never bother you again. I take full responsibility. Morning comes and it turns out Ronald is scheduled to film a scene with that same snake later that day. But Ronald is completely terrified. The scene requires him to grab the snake with his bare hands and deliver dialogue to Clary at the same time. Unfortunately, his fear of snakes is so overwhelming that he can't even manage to say his lines. Properly. In a moment of panic, he doesn't even finish the scene. Instead, he throws the snake into the water. Tragically, the snake crashes into the fan beneath the boat and is killed instantly. The entire group is devastated by what happened, knowing there was nothing they could have done to prevent it. That night, they burn what remains of the snake's body and say a prayer, hoping for its peaceful afterlife. While this is happening, one of Anna's enemies spots her from a distance. He's just about to report her location to his leader when something horrifying happens. A massive anaconda appears on his boat. This time, it's a real one. The snake attacks him, wrapping its powerful body around him and crushing him to death. The story then cuts back to Ronald's ship. Ronald is completely broken by what happened earlier. When the snake handler asks what's wrong, Ronald finally opens up. He admits that he's been a struggling actor in Hollywood for years, never landing a lead role or even a decent supporting part. Tired of constant failure, he decided this movie was his last chance. Now that the snake is gone, he feels like the entire project is doomed. Moved by Ronald's words, the snake handler becomes emotional. He promises Ronald that he will catch a large snake that very night and extract its venom so the movie can be completed. Determined to keep his word, he heads straight into the jungle under the cover of darkness. But the jungle gives him no mercy. A massive anaconda strikes without warning, grabbing him and dragging him into the river. The snake coils tightly around his body, squeezing the life out of him until he's dead. Ronald, who waits anxiously for the snake handler all night, grows increasingly worried. When the man never returns, Ronald panics and rushes to inform the rest of the group about his disappearance. For some time, the group decides to wait, hoping the snake handler will return on his own. But as more and more time passes with no sign of him, they realize something is seriously wrong. Finally, they make a tough decision. They'll head into the jungle themselves. Their plan is simple. First, search for the missing man. If they can't find him, they'll at least capture a snake so they can finish the movie. After all, they're already trapped by a huge loan and can't afford to walk away now. With that, they move deeper into the jungle, and Anna goes with them. As they push forward, they suddenly come across a van. Almost immediately, they hear a strange rustling sound nearby. The sound is heavy, slow, and terrifying, like something massive moving through the bushes. It feels unmistakably like a giant anaconda. Panic sets in, and they quickly hide inside the truck. Out of nowhere, their missing companion's blood-soaked body slams against the window. The sight is so shocking that it leaves everyone frozen in fear. A moment later, the massive anaconda reveals itself right in front of the truck. Terrified, they try to escape by driving away, but the truck won't move. Realizing there's no other choice, Doug decides to risk his own life to save the others. He steps out of the truck to fix the engine. While he's working, the anaconda spots him. With its enormous mouth stretched wide open, the snake slowly moves toward him, ready to strike. Just in time, Doug's companions grab him, pull him back inside, and slam the door shut, narrowly saving his life. Before they can recover or escape, another threat appears. The men who have been hunting Anna finally catch up to them. Anna quickly explains that these men are mafia members, who hide out in the jungle to stave off the police's radar and are now trying to rob them. As she's explaining this, Anna reaches into the van and grabs a gun. She opens fire on the men chasing her, moving with the confidence and precision of a trained soldier. Doug watches in awe, completely impressed by her combat skills and action hero style. Somehow, the group manages to make it back to their ship, but the danger isn't over yet. The leader who has been hunting Anna follows them and suddenly points a gun at the four friends, at the perfect moment. Anna sneaks up behind him and fires a shot at his head, knocking him unconscious. She then turns to the group and tells them bluntly that it's no longer safe to stay there. If they want to survive, they need to leave the island immediately. Anna sits down with Ronald and Doug to discuss how she can get them out of the jungle and off the island as fast as possible so they can catch a flight back home. But Doug and Ronald refuse. They tell her they can't go back now. They've taken out a massive loan to make this movie, and there's no way they're leaving without finishing it. With no other choice, Anna, who is still pretending to be just their driver, agrees to stay with them. That night, Doug works non-stop on his laptop, rewriting the script. He ends up giving all of Ronald's main action scenes to Anna instead. Her fighting skills left such a strong impression on him that he's convinced the movie will be a huge success if Anna plays the lead role. By morning, Doug gathers everyone together and proudly presents the new script. He explains that casting Anna as the lead will greatly improve their chances of awards, even claiming the movie could be nominated for an Oscar, since action films, led by strong female characters, often gain more recognition. Everyone loves the idea and is excited about the new script. Ronald and Clary then ask, "What about our roles?" Doug responds by explaining the plan. He tells Ronald and Clary that their characters will head into the forest in search of treasure. Anna's character will then trap them, and in the end, she'll be the one who saves everyone. Liking the concept, the group moves forward and begins filming the new version of the script. Doug shoots scene after scene with Anna, focusing heavily on her character. This quickly frustrates Ronald and Clary. To them, it feels like Doug is ignoring his own friends and slowly pushing them aside. They also realize that with all the attention Anna's character is getting, their roles are shrinking more and more, making them seem insignificant in the final movie. Doug tries to justify his choices, telling them, "Everything I'm doing is for all of us. We have to make this movie a hit." And with Anna doing the stunts herself, the action will look far more real on screen. Instead of calming Ronald down, this only makes him angrier. He snaps at Doug, shouting that the whole idea was his from the beginning, and that Doug has no right to take control of it without him. Right in the middle of their argument, they notice a massive ship passing by nearby. On board are several famous Hollywood actors, and the ship has clearly been specially prepared for filming. A large Anaconda poster is displayed on its side. So when the shocking truth comes out, Ronald never actually owned the rights to the Adlal Anaconda movie, or the novel series he claimed to have. Those rights belonged to Sony, and they were the ones officially making the film. Ronald's three friends are crushed by the revelation. They've spent all their money and taken huge loans for a project that was never truly theirs. Furious and heartbroken, they confront Ronald for dragging them into such a massive loss through his lies. But Ronald tries to explain himself, saying that, "Because of my lie, your lives started to change. If I hadn't given you this idea, you wouldn't even be here right now. Doug would still be making boring videos, and Kenny and Clary would be stuck in their useless jobs." Fueled by anger and frustration, Ronald storms off, deciding to leave on his own. He convinces himself that he'll go straight to Sony and try to get a role in their movie, even if it's just a small one. He abandons his friends, and they, in turn, decide to leave as well. Ronald walks ahead alone, but just moments later, he's shocked by what he sees. The massive ship he had noticed earlier is now completely destroyed, lying in ruins. The area is filled with chaos and panic, and Ronald can't make sense of what happened. Suddenly, the assistant director appears in front of him. She looks relieved and excited, as if Ronald has arrived to save her. She waves at him desperately, but before Ronald can even take a step toward her, a gigantic anaconda strikes out of nowhere. In a split second, the snake grabs her and drags her away, horrified by what he's just witnessed. Ronald turns around and runs straight back to his boat. Back on Ronald's ship, tensions are still high. The group is arguing over Ronald's decision to leave, while Doug stubbornly insists on continuing the movie with Anna. The others, however, refuse to go along with the plan. What they don't realize is that Anna has no interest in making the movie at all. She's still focused on her own mission. At gunpoint, Anna forces the men to follow her into the jungle. That's when the truth finally comes out. Atana is an illegal gold miner, and she wants them to help her mine gold as well. When they finally return to the boat, loaded with supplies, they realize they've collected a substantial amount of gold. Anna, still keeping everyone at gunpoint, watches them closely. Suddenly, the same man who had been chasing Anna since the beginning of the movie shows up on the boat again. It turns out he's actually a police officer, intent on capturing Anna for illegally plundering the jungle's treasures. Before he can take a shot at her, Ronald, who's hiding somewhere in the jungle, unfamiliar with the area, fires at the officer. The bullet hits, wounding him. Taking advantage of the chaos, Anna shoots the officer dead. She then regains control, holding everyone at gunpoint once more and demanding that they continue working. But before anyone can react further, the anaconda strikes again. It leaps out of the water and snatches Anna in its massive jaws, carrying her away. Just like that, Anna's story comes to an abrupt end. The three friends, who have never witnessed anything like this before, are paralyzed with terror. They flee into the jungle in panic, only to realize they are completely lost. In their desperation, they begin shouting for help, but the anaconda appears once more. This time it attacks Doug from above, grabbing half of his body in its powerful mouth. The horrifying sight leaves the three friends shattered. They watch helplessly as their friend is brutally killed. Then, in an even more shocking turn, the anaconda flings Doug's body back to the ground. You see him lying in a pool of blood, lifeless. The brutal reality of what just happened hits them full force, leaving them stunned and devastated, terrified for their own lives. The three friends stand frozen for a moment, mourning Doug's death. But Kenny quickly snaps them out of it, shouting, "He's dead now. But we three have to save ourselves." Thinking fast, he comes up with a daring plan. They decide to use Doug's body as bait, taking it to a spot in the jungle where an anaconda is likely to attack, hoping this will distract the creature and give them a chance to escape. Following the plan, they hang Doug's body like a scarecrow in the middle of a clearing and place a Pegalso Dada on top of him, believing it will serve as irresistible bait for the anaconda. With that set, they run for their lives. But as they flee, something strange catches their attention. They hear screaming from behind and turn to see the impossible. Doug is still alive. Even more shocking, the pig on his head is also alive. And to make matters worse, the anaconda has arrived. Ready to attack, Doug scrambles for cover as the massive snake closes in. The panicked pig on his head adds to the chaos, flailing in terror. Thinking quickly, Doug lifts the pig off his head and throws it straight into the anaconda's mouth, distracting the beast long enough for them to make their escape. As they continue fleeing, they reach the very location on the island where Sony had set up for the Anaconda movie. Here the scene is chaotic. Numerous explosives have been planted in an attempt to kill the anaconda. The giant snake arrives, causing destruction. Clary is nearly killed in the chaos, but against all odds, the hero Doug manages to survive. Seeing all four of them in danger, Doug springs into action, trying to save his friends. He shoots at the anaconda from behind, just like a scene straight out of a movie. Now, once they're safe, he leads them to a set and explains that small bombs have been planted all over the area. Find the controller, he tells them, and you can use it to escape the anaconda. Just as he's about to leave, the others ask, "Where are you going?" Doug explains, "My friends are still out in the jungle, and there are no bombs there that can kill the anaconda. I can't leave them alone." Determined, they walk together and manage to locate the bomb controller. They hatch a plan. They'll lure the anaconda back to the set and use the bombs to finally defeat it, risking their own lives. They get inside a vehicle and start making noise near the island to attract the beast as soon as the anaconda follows. Kenny and Clary see their chance and begin detonating the bombs with the controller. But despite the explosions, the anaconda remains unharmed, relentlessly pursuing Doug and Ronald. With danger closing in, Ronald finds the courage to step forward and take matters into his own hands. He shouts the line from his childhood movie, "No one can kill my friends while I'm around." With that, he draws his pistol and fires strategically at a nearby gas cylinder. The resulting explosion is massive, tearing the anaconda apart and finally killing the monstrous creature once and for all. Finally, everyone is safe. The four friends walk out together, battered but victorious, sharing a moment of relief and triumph. In the post-credits scene, it's revealed that everything they went through was captured as a movie. Doug's film is finally released in theaters, bringing them fame, fortune, and even a few awards. Life has changed for all of them. They're no longer struggling. Ronald and Clary decide to get married. And their pre-wedding shoot is exactly what Doug had envisioned. An alien action thriller-themed film. Ronald starts landing better roles in Hollywood. Finally gaining recognition for his talent, Doug, who had once been a struggling director, receives an unexpected visit from a prominent filmmaker. At first, he panics, thinking he's in trouble for making the Anaconda movie without the proper rights. But the director surprises him. She loved the movie and wants Doug to direct the official Anaconda film. Overjoyed and overwhelmed by the news, Doug can't contain his happiness. He faints on the spot, and the movie ends showing him in that blissful, ecstatic moment.